At my daughter's wedding, she leaned close and whispered, "You're not family anymore." Then she posed with her new, real father under the lights. 2 hours later, with one quiet decision, I turned the entire celebration upside down, and everyone learned what family really costs. Before we continue, please subscribe and tell us in the comments what time it is where you're watching from. We love hearing from folks across the United States. Your note helps new viewers find us. My name is Philip Carter. I am 62, a retired plant engineer, a widower. I'm wearing my best suit and a quiet heart that has learned how to break without making a sound. Lauren's laugh rides the string quartet like a ribbon in March air. Andrew squeezes her hand. Clark rests a proprietary palm on her shoulder. I take one step back, then another, my fingers finding the envelope in my inside pocket, the one that has felt heavy for weeks. I have kept my promises all my life. Tonight I will keep a different one. The morning starts in my ordinary world, the one no one photographs. A modest ranch outside Columbus, a split-rail fence, a maple that drops helicopters every spring. The mailbox leans left because the frost heave beat me last winter. Inside, the fridge hums like an old friend. An Ohio State magnet pins a furnace filter receipt and a postcard from Hocking Hills that Lauren mailed freshman year. A yellow sticky note in her handwriting says, "Love you, Dad." Buy milk, I left it there on purpose, the way some people keep a seashell to hear a place they loved. My toolbox waits on the garage shelf. Old Craftsman, red paint rubbed thin, drawers heavy with socket sets and chisels I've sharpened until they look like younger versions of themselves. When the screwdriver drawer slides open, I see the tiny sticker Maggie pressed there one Saturday. An apple from a children's book she read to Lauren. It's silly. It steadies me anyway. Tools remember the hands that use them, and mine have been busy most of my life. Maggie's photo lives on the mantel where I set it 8 years ago, the day the house went too quiet. Yellow sweater, laugh, caught mid-breath. Hospice taught us how to fold blankets, warm soup, and measure time by the sound of oxygen. A volunteer called her brave. I called her mine, until I had to call the funeral home. Grief taught me that love keeps talking after the door closes. It also taught me how heavy a ring feels when you keep wearing it for someone who can't. My hands carry our history. A burn scar across the first knuckle from a furnace job that fought back in '99. A pale line on my thumb from changing a mower blade in a hurry. A knuckle that never straightened after an engine cover slipped. These hands know the feel of torque before a bolt seats, the patience a pilot light demands, and the exact pressure to get a stubborn breaker to let go. Today the nails are neat. I scrubbed them last night with the little brush. Lauren used to call the mechanic's toothbrush. I keep warranties in a plastic shoebox with a rubber band because paper likes to wander. Car, hot water, roof, TV. Under that sits a different ledger. A green notebook, ruled and soft at the corners. Tuition columns, activity fees, bus passes, uniforms, the first payment to community college, the transfer to Ohio State when she refused to quit. Every line gets the same care. Amount, date, source, note. The notes tell the story, numbers can't. Over time, sold the ATV, called in a favor, paid in full. When I picture Lauren as a little girl, my mind takes the same route every time. County Fair first, because that's where she called me her hero. Red sneakers, a blue ribbon someone gave her for a paper sunflower, cotton candy on her fingers. We stayed at the ring toss too long because she wanted the stuffed elephant and because I kept hitting the bottleneck with a sound like failure. Then I sank one. She squealed and called me mighty like a cartoon. I still don't pass a ring toss without hearing that sound. Then the spelling bee. She nailed chrysanthemum and then missed the second H in shepherd, biting her lip until it turned white. I sat third row center and smiled big enough to be a lighthouse. She scanned the room to see if it was safe to breathe. We got ice cream afterward. Chocolate for her? Vanilla with coffee for me. She asked if mistakes last forever. Not if you bend, I told her. That answer has rescued me more than once. Snapshots stack up. Father-daughter dances in the elementary gym. Paper hearts taped crooked. A DJ who thought a club song belonged with fourth graders. We swayed instead. She stood on my shoes and let me steer because the floor was slick and I know how to be steady. I remember the smell of construction paper and cafeteria pizza, and the way Maggie laughed at my tie clip when we got home. A silver fish, she said, made me look like a senator from a small state. Maggie could make an insult sound like a toast. First driving lessons happened on Sundays, in the empty lot behind St. Luke's. God forgives and asphalt teaches. She gripped the wheel at 10 and 2 like a life preserver. The blinker made a metronome out of her nerves. We learned how the seat tells the truth about speed at curb cuts. She rolled the first stop sign at 3 miles an hour. I let silence do most of the teaching. By the third session, she parked between the lines without kissing the paint, and we celebrated with a sausage biscuit that tasted better than any trophy. Years moved. The house didn't. I patched drywall where a doorknob kissed it, labeled the breaker with a Sharpie, mowed in long lines because that's the best way to notice when something starts going wrong. After Maggie died, evenings stretched. Lauren swung by to turn casserole into conversation. Her loans were heavy, her hours unpredictable. We made peace with leftovers and the kind of honesty you say while rinsing plates. It felt like a plan forming, even if neither of us said plan out loud. Present day arrives whether you invite it or not. I stand in front of the closet with 2 suits, one black for funerals and interviews, one charcoal, honest fabric that doesn't pretend. I press the charcoal and polish my shoes with the little tin from Kohl's that sits beside spare laces. The laces go into my pocket because older men know things snap when no one is looking. The mirror says presentable. It also says time keeps its promises, whether or not you keep yours. On the way out, I straighten Maggie's frame. I don't talk to her picture now, not out loud. I breathe differently when I look at her. Outside, March is clear and cold, the kind of air that makes your lungs write thank you notes. I lock the door twice. The truck coughs, then settles. At Speedway, I grab a black coffee and a breakfast sandwich I won't finish. The clerk wishes me a blessed day. I say you too and mean it, because kindness is never wasted. The envelope rides in my inside pocket, plain and white, as unimpressive as a snowflake on a plow blade. It holds the scheduled wire confirmation and a handwritten list of what remains to be paid. I've stared at it enough to recite it. Still, paper makes memory feel less fragile. The numbers are neat because I wrote them early while the house was quiet enough to hear the hallway clock. Money, I've learned, is time in a different uniform, measured by hours you gave away. By the time I pull into the Lakeside Conservatory and Country Club lot, the day has uncorked itself. Cars angle into their lines with the certainty of people who expect attendance. I take a spot by a young maple because I like the walk. Conservatory glass glints even when the sun is shy. Through the panes there's motion and color. Florists fussing with eucalyptus garlands, tulips bowed like they're praying for spring. A quartet warms up with scales that climb and descend like someone stretching before a race. Inside, a staffer offers water with lemon and points toward a coat room that looks allergic to salt stains. Rugs swallow sound. Voices bounce gently. Comfort lives in the woodwork. I find a quiet window and watch the rehearsal of an afternoon that refuses to be ordinary. The program lists family on both sides, with parentheses to clarify which parent belongs to which person. My name sits where it should. I decide that's enough. Maybe that's naive. I let it be hope instead. We planned this reception like people running a project, the business-like kind of love. We divided invoices so nobody felt ambushed. My part is the final settlement, a scheduled wire set for Monday morning to cover what couldn't be prepaid. $32,800. Not life-changing for some. For me, the remainder of a lifetime of careful choices. I'm not angry at the number. Money is a tool, not a scoreboard. I'm simply aware of what it took to place that tool in an envelope. The quartet drifts into a melody I know by muscle memory. The first hint of discomfort arrives like a draft through a window that looked tight. Laughter bubbles near the check-in table. Bright, practiced, the kind that lands on marble like a bell. Andrew looks good in his tux. He carries himself like someone born in a clubhouse. His parents mirror the place, tailored, composed, convinced they're the adults in any room. None of that is a crime. It just makes me button my jacket and measure my words. I try not to overread tone. People carry weather, and sometimes it rains where you're standing. I study the flowers instead. The eucalyptus smells clean, the way Maggie used to scent a towel in summer before placing it on the porch rail. It smells like, "You've got this," written in her slanted hand and tucked into my lunchbox when work felt heavy. The smell makes me smile. It also reminds me that fresh starts often arrive with price tags and expectations that someone else will pick up. I test the envelope again. Paper and ink don't weigh much, but they can pull your spine into new angles. My ledger brain does its gentle math. The settlement closes the loop on catering, music, floral, and the venue balance. I added a gratuity line because I spent years in a service world, and I know the thank you kitchens understand. I picture the dish pit, the runners whose shoes will end the night in a corner dark with soap splash, the line cook who will go home, bone-tired and invisible. Respect is a bill, too. I wander to the ceremony space and take the second-row aisle seat. The chairs curve at the top to fit a palm. I run my hand along the wood and think about every time I taught Lauren how to fix what breaks without announcing the break to the whole world. Loosen trim with a putty knife before you pull. Keep a towel under the valve before you open it, because water tells the truth. Say please to the part before you ask it to move. You can't bully a stuck fitting, you coax it. A coordinator asks if I'm comfortable and offers a mint. I say I'm good. She says she loves the charcoal suit and does that quick shoulder glance people do when they check a collar. I thank her and decide not to cry about a stranger's kindness. On a day built from speeches, small mercies speak the loudest. I check my phone without unlocking it. The clock tells me what I need. I've got time. I walk the perimeter. In a side hall, a display table holds photos of the couple. Hikes, holidays, a charity gala. One of Lauren in a blue dress under a glass arbor. She looks happy. Seeing her happy has always been the point, even when it meant standing a little farther away so the picture worked. Back in the lobby, a cousin on Andrew's side tells a story about the club's wait list and laughs like the number is a punchline. Another relative mentions a donor wall downtown and who belongs on it. I'm not offended. I just understand the nouns. Membership, donor, belonging. Those words move differently when you're paid hourly and your overtime has names. Nostalgia softens into quiet pride. Pride grows an edge I don't recognize. It isn't anger. It feels like a tool I haven't used in a while, heavy and exact, the kind that only comes out when you stop pretending something is fine. I turn the envelope so the flap faces up. I straighten my tie without untying the knot. I think of Lauren at 6, wearing a Crown Maggie cut from a grocery bag, star sticker at the center, insisting I sit on the floor so she could award me Best Dad at breakfast. I took a bow and washed the dishes. Cold air sneaks in as the outer doors open to another wave of guests. Perfume and tulips and eucalyptus fold into a scent that feels like the inside of a promise. The quartet tunes to A440. I find my seat. I set my program down. I look at my hands. I flex the crooked knuckle. I feel the old ache a March front brings. Somewhere in this room, a camera shutter winks. Somewhere in this story, a line is getting ready to be crossed. I don't pray often. I do it the way I check a thermostat, quietly. Adjust a little. Wait. I ask for courage to bend again if bending is right. I ask for courage to stop bending if that's what respect requires. I ask for Maggie's laugh to live close enough to hear when the music starts. And I ask for a day that ends with everyone home, in one piece. Then I stand to greet whoever is coming through the next set of doors, and I keep one hand near the envelope, like it's a simple thing, when both of us know it isn't. The conservatory arbor glitters under glass, tulips framed against eucalyptus garlands, the quartet smoothing into position as if the air itself needs tuning. Guests murmur and shift, cameras click, and the photographer, Jill, directs people with the easy confidence of someone who's done this 100 times. Immediate family to the front, she calls. Her assistant straightens the hem of Lauren's dress and points toward the arbor's center. Andrew stands all ready, polished and certain. Clark Pierce, his father, adjusts a cufflink like the moment belongs to him. Eleanor Pierce smooths her navy jacket, and then Jill's eyes find me, a quick beckon of the hand, the kind of natural invitation no one should question. I rise from the second row, jacket tugged once at the waist, my steps measured toward the space I know is mine. My daughter's eyes flicker, just a beat, just long enough for me to catch the frost before the smile returns for the guests. She leans toward me as though about to kiss the air near my cheek. Instead, her whisper comes, soft enough for only me. Please don't. You're not family anymore. Andrew's dad will stand here. The words land without echo, heavy and absolute. Clark slides his arm around her shoulders with a practiced ease, as though they rehearsed the movement, as though he'd been waiting for his cue. She tilts toward him, radiant under Jill's lens. The quartet falters a note, recovers, continues. A cousin clears his throat. The hush of guests spreads like a tide, people shifting, pretending not to stare. I freeze mid-step, one foot half turned. My body wants to complete the movement, but the air has locked into glass around me. I step back slowly, lips pressing into the shape of a smile that will not hold. The camera shutter continues, catching a family portrait that has no room for me. Clark's hand rests proprietary. Eleanor beams. Andrew nods. Lauren glows between them, her laughter brighter than chandeliers, brighter than the years I raised her alone. Later, the reception gleams with crystal and candlelight. Glasses rise for toasts. Lauren stands, champagne flute catching the golden glow. Her voice, steady, musical, fills the hall. To my real father, she says, her eyes turned to Clark. Thank you for showing me what a father really is. A ripple of polite laughter moves through tables near the head table, the kind of laughter that pretends to be celebration but carries judgment underneath. Clark inclines his head graciously, taking the crown she places without hesitation. Eleanor dabs her eyes as if maternal pride has finally been fulfilled. I sit in the corner, a solitary setting marked for me, but left unjoined. My hand drifts to the envelope in my pocket, the paper bending beneath my fingers like it knows the weight of its number. The ledger flashes in my mind, every line, every entry, every sacrifice that lived in quiet ink. The first tuition payment, the orthodontist installments, the Honda Civic down payment, 30 years of overtime and canceled vacations, listed like a confession no one else ever read. The champagne bubbles roar in my ears, though I have not touched my glass. Around me, laughter spills, cutlery clinks, cameras capture smiles that erase me from their frame. The hall is full, yet my seat feels like exile. I straighten my tie, though no one is watching. Silence fills me, cold and final, while the music swells for a dance I was never invited to join. The corner table feels colder than the March air outside. From here, the chandeliers seem farther away, their glow meant for people who sit beneath them, not for someone tucked against a wall. My fork rests against china I cannot bring myself to touch. I let the noise of the room wash over me, laughter tumbling from the head table, glasses clinking in cheerful rhythm, the quartet folding melodies over conversations like silk. I am present, but I am no longer included. Her whisper still hangs in my chest. You're not family anymore. The words weigh more than the envelope pressing against my ribs. I shift, and the envelope crinkles like an accusation. It carries more than numbers. It carries years. I have always written things down. A green ledger book with its corners softened by time holds the story of my fatherhood as surely as any photograph. I can close my eyes and see the entries. Community college, year 1, tuition and fees, 1,300. Books, 900. A bus pass, 300. She had wanted to save me money, she said, by staying close to home. I worked double shifts that fall, the hours stretching longer than daylight, but I never once thought of it as wasted. The following year came the transfer to Ohio State, her dream since she was 14. Tuition jumped to $11,500. Books and supplies ran another $1,200. Housing in a shared apartment near campus cost $800 each month. Utilities, an extra $100. I remember writing those numbers in the ledger, my hand stiff after a 12-hour shift, the ballpoint pressing so hard the paper dented. I did not resent it. I told myself this was how a parent invests, not with stocks and bonds, but with flesh and sweat turned into opportunity. Then came the little things that never felt little. Cheer squad fees at $1,200 a year, uniforms another $500, travel for competitions averaging $700 per season. I took extra jobs wiring HVAC units on weekends just to keep pace. Braces were $5,000 spread over 2 years. I remember the first payment slip, paper-clipped to a picture she drew in 5th grade of herself with a perfect smile. She taped it to the fridge as motivation. Every time she complained about the tightness, I reminded her it was an investment. She would thank me later, I believed. Prom night carved another slice from the ledger. A dress that cost $300, alterations $60 more, shoes $100. Add the limousine share, the corsage, the tickets. That night she twirled in the living room, the hem of her dress brushing the carpet Maggie had once chosen. My chest swelled with pride, not because of the price tag, but because she looked like joy had found her again after Maggie was gone. I snapped photos until she waved me off. I told myself the money was nothing compared to the glow on her face. When she turned 17, we co-signed on a used Honda Civic, $6,500, financed over 4 years. I made the down payment of $2,000 and covered the insurance until she could manage. That car carried her to college interviews, late-night study sessions, and the part-time job that helped her feel grown. I changed the oil myself in the driveway, laying on my back under the rusted frame, thinking of the miles she was driving away from me and toward her future. Senior year of college brought an internship in Chicago. Relocation deposits swallowed $1,800 for first and last month's rent. I wired the money to her landlord the same day she called in tears, panicked she would lose the spot. I told her not to worry. I would handle it. I always did. Later, when she phoned excited about the skyline view from her studio, I smiled through exhaustion. I worked back-to-back shifts for 6 straight weeks that summer to cover the gap. I once totaled it all, one night when the house was too quiet and I needed proof my life had meaning. $146,200 over 15 years. That included tuition, housing, braces, cars, clothes, medical bills, fees, and groceries. I brought to her apartment when she pretended she wasn't hungry. Add another $4,000 to $6,000 in little things. Textbooks bought secondhand, phone bills I covered without asking, furniture I delivered in borrowed trucks. The ledger does not lie. My love for her has always been written in ink and paid in sweat. And now, tonight, this wedding reception sits on top of that mountain of sacrifice like a golden statue, a monument built with my pension. I know the numbers by heart because I studied the contracts. The venue balance, $14,500, catering, $9,800. Flowers and decor, $3,500. Band and audio, $2,800. Photographer, balance remaining, $2,200. Add it together and you get $32,800. That wire is scheduled to leave my account at 9 o'clock Monday morning, an irreversible transaction that will drain the savings I've scraped together since retirement. I inhale and the scent of seared salmon in lemon beurre blanc hits me, rich and buttery. A meal plated for people who laugh while I sit forgotten. The clink of glassware, the ripple of conversation, the bright peal of Lauren's laughter from the head table. It all builds a wall I cannot cross. Every sound reminds me that I am paying to be erased. The cruel symmetry is undeniable. I built her future with calloused hands and sleepless nights, only to fund my own disappearance from her life. I close my eyes and I can see Maggie's face, that photo in the yellow sweater. She had wanted Lauren to know the value of money and the dignity of work. We had promised each other we would never spoil her, never let her believe things appeared from nowhere. But after Maggie died, my resolve softened. Every time Lauren looked lost, I pulled out my wallet. Every time she stumbled, I built her a smoother path. I thought I was protecting her. Perhaps I was only teaching her to expect rescue. Around me, the celebration continues, insulated from my silence. Eleanor Pierce raises her glass in a toast about love and legacy. Clark nods solemnly, the portrait of a patriarch. Andrew kisses Lauren's hand. Applause follows like obedient rain. I tap the envelope in my pocket, the numbers vibrating through me. 32,800. Not a gift, not generosity. Payment for exclusion. I mouth the words to myself. I am paying to be erased. The thought steadies me because naming truth has power. I study my hands resting on the white linen. They are older now, veins prominent, skin mapped with scars. These hands have signed tuition checks, tightened radiator clamps, and built dollhouses late at night. They have packed lunches, held her when she sobbed over her mother's absence, and clapped from auditorium rows when she crossed stages. They do not deserve to be told they are no longer family. They deserve respect, gratitude, acknowledgement. The salmon arrives at my table, pink flesh glistening beneath the sauce. $47 a plate, multiplied by 120 guests. $5,600 of my pension, carved and plated. The smell should make my mouth water. Instead, it turns my stomach. I push the plate away, appetite gone. It is easier to count the numbers than to taste the meal. Each bite would remind me of what it cost. I lift the water glass instead. The cool weight steadies my grip. Across the room, Lauren throws her head back at a joke from Clark, her face shining with the same kind of admiration she once gave me when I fixed her bike chain. That glow is mine no longer. It belongs to a man who stepped into a photograph while I stepped out. The ledger in my mind flips to a clean page. I begin to write not in ink, but in thought. First line. What is left of me if I keep paying to disappear? Second line. What happens if I stop? The questions hang heavier than any check I've ever signed. Laughter swells again at the head table, followed by the clink of forks against china. I hear the quartet transition into another melody, notes sliding like silver ribbon through the air. I sit in silence, letting the math steady me, letting the memories sharpen instead of blur. Hurt transforms slowly into clarity. I realize that every dollar I have given has been my way of saying, you matter. Tonight, her whisper answered back, you don't. I sip water, swallow slowly, and breathe. Resolve begins to form like steel cooling into shape. The injustice is undeniable, the ledger undeniable, the truth undeniable. I have been paying for years to keep her future alive. Tonight, I nearly paid to bury myself. That is a line I cannot allow to continue. The noise of the hall begins to smother me. Applause rises again at the head table, followed by another toast that turns my sacrifice into their performance. I push back my chair and step quietly into the corridor. The air is cooler there, but still heavy with flowers. I follow the path of exit signs until I find the terrace doors. Outside, the Ohio night greets me like an old friend. The wind carries the damp chill of early March, sharp enough to sting my lungs. My breath steams as though my body has secrets it refuses to hold inside. Beyond the conservatory glass, the lake lies dark and steady, a mirror for the clouds drifting over the city. The muffled quartet inside blends faintly with the rustle of bare branches. I reach for my phone. The screen lights my face, its glow catching the silver at my temples. My thumb hesitates only once, then presses the contact I saved weeks ago. The bank's customer service line hums through the speaker. A polite recorded voice asks for my account number. I read it slowly, clearly, the way a man who knows exactly what he wants to do speaks. The representative comes on. The line, a young man with brisk professionalism. How can I help you today, sir? I keep my tone measured. I need to cancel a scheduled wire transfer set for Monday morning. The amount is $32,800. The silence that follows feels like a ledger page turning. Certainly, Mr. Carter, he replies. Let me verify. He repeats the details back to me. I confirm. He clicks through keys, and with each sound, I imagine a shackle loosening. Done, sir. The wire has been canceled. Relief moves through me like heat after a long shiver. But I am not finished. There may be attempts to charge me directly through my card. I add a request. Place a hold on any transactions from the Lakeside Conservatory and Country Club until I call personally. Another click of the keyboard. Consider it done, sir. No further charges will be accepted without your approval. He wishes me a good evening. I thank him with the gravity of a man thanking a surgeon. I end the call, and the night feels different. The burden shifts. For the first time today, I am not simply reacting. I am acting. Pain has begun to shape itself into precision. I slide the phone back into my pocket and pull out a worn piece of paper. An old page from the green ledger, edges yellowed, corners soft. On it are scribbled calculations, the first time I added together the total cost of her education. The ink is faded, but the numbers still breathe. I fold it carefully, once, twice, and slide it into the envelope. A record of where my love has already gone. A reminder that enough has been given. I draw a long breath and then dial another number. This one belongs to Dana Russo, the venue manager. I met her twice during planning, a woman with dark hair pulled into a knot, calm in the way professionals are when they've seen everything twice before. She gave me her card at the final walkthrough, telling me to call if I had concerns. Tonight I do. She answers on the second ring, her voice smooth, alert. Mr. Carter, is everything all right? I lean against the terrace railing, the cold iron steady in my palm. Dana, I want to be transparent. I am not authorizing further payment for tonight's event. I will speak to you privately when you need me, but the scheduled transfer has been canceled. Silence hums across the line. She processes my words with the same calm efficiency I remembered. Understood, Mr. Carter, she replies. We'll settle accounts at dessert service. Her tone is neutral, neither sympathetic nor condemning, just factual. She respects the boundary without stepping into the storm behind it. Thank you, I say simply. That's all for now. We end the call. I stand a moment longer, letting the wind run its cold fingers through my jacket. Inside, the celebration continues unchecked. They are laughing, dancing, eating food plated with my savings, unaware that the foundation beneath their luxury has already shifted. In 2 hours, when Dana approaches with her folio, they will learn the truth. But tonight, in this moment, I feel something I have not felt in years. Purpose. I tuck the ledger page back into the envelope and slide it inside my jacket. My hand rests there for a long moment, steady over my heart. Calmness spreads through me like the settling of dust after a storm. I am no longer carrying anger alone. I am carrying decision. That difference changes everything. I turn from the railing, draw one last deep breath of March air, and walk back through the terrace doors. The music swells as I re-enter, the hall buzzing with cheer and glitter. No one notices my absence, and no one notices my return. That is fine. The true performance has not yet begun. I slide into my chair, place my napkin across my lap, and fold my hands. My face is composed, my movements measured. Inside, the dominoes have already been set in motion, each one ready to fall exactly when it must. The pain of her whisper remains, but it no longer crushes me. It has become something sharper, something I can hold without bleeding. Tonight, I am no longer the man paying to vanish. Tonight, I am the man who chose to stop. The reception shifts into its rhythm like a machine that's been built for display. The chandeliers shimmer, the bandleader announces the next moment, and the guests lean forward for spectacle. The first dance begins, not with me. Lauren takes Clark's hand, not tentative, not reluctant, but with the ease of someone who has rehearsed this. He holds her with proprietary steadiness, guiding her in smooth turns across the polished floor. Applause breaks into whistles. Guests murmur about poise, about tradition. My chair feels heavier with every step they take, as though the dance itself presses me into silence. I sip water, cool against my teeth, and keep my face composed. Derek, the bandleader, lifts the microphone between songs. He shouts out the groom's parents, thanking Clark and Marilyn Pierce for hosting such a spectacular evening. His voice carries across the room, loud and certain, but he never mentions me. Applause thunders again. Clark nods solemnly. Eleanor dabs at her eye with a napkin. Andrew grins like an heir secure in his inheritance. I sit unacknowledged, a man who paid for music that plays to someone else's name. Later, I help Eleanor's elderly sister find her coat in the foyer. She walks slowly, a little unsteady, and I steady her elbow with my hand. She thanks me softly. No one notices. I return her to her seat, then fade back into the corner where I belong. My kindness is invisible here, just as my role has been erased from every public gesture. Marilyn finds me near the dessert table. Her words are honey with a trace of steel. Your daughter is so poised, Philip. She carries herself with such grace now. Life is different when you have the right mentorship. The emphasis is light, but the blade cuts deep. She pats my arm, eyes flicking toward Clark, as if to underline who she means. I nod politely, saying nothing. Some lessons don't need correction. They need witnesses. Andrew joins a cluster of groomsmen near the bar. His voice carries, pitched to reach Clark across the room. We're looking at starter homes in Upper Arlington, he says, laughing. He glances at Clark, waiting for affirmation. Clark smiles, approving. The circle laughs along. It's a performance of belonging, staged and perfected, and I am not part of the cast. My phone buzzes against my thigh, a vibration sharp enough to startle. I slip it from my pocket beneath the linen. A bank text appears on the screen. Wire canceled. The words light up the glass, crisp and final. Relief fills my chest. The dominoes are set. The current is moving now, unseen but unstoppable. Across the room, I catch sight of Dana, the venue manager. She stands near the staff corridor with a slim tablet in her hands. Her brow tightens as she checks the screen. An assistant leans in, whispering. Dana nods once, her expression unreadable, then tucks the tablet under her arm and moves with practiced calm toward the kitchen. She does not look my way. She doesn't have to. We both know what has been set in motion. Food service ends. The salmon plates are cleared, the dessert trays emerge. Forks scrape against china as cake is served, slices of white fondant, raspberry filling, careful as architecture. Laughter blooms at the head table as Andrew smears frosting playfully on Lauren's nose. Cameras flash, guests cheer. The photographer hovers near the center, snapping frame after frame. His eyes flick toward me once, uncertain, then move on. Vendors begin to circle gently, each in their orbit. The band manager glances at the clock, then at Dana. The photographer shifts his gear, his assistant adjusting straps. Servers exchange looks as they pass through the room with trays of champagne flutes. They are waiting, though the guests don't notice. Only I know what they are waiting for. I sit back in my chair, glass of water steady in my hand. The taste is simple, grounding. My pulse slows as the minutes tick forward. Inside my chest, a silent metronome counts the steps toward the inevitable. The moment of reckoning is close now. Each toast, each laugh, each careless word is a note in a song that will end differently than they expect. I breathe in the scent of sugar and buttercream, let the chatter wash around me, and wait. The anticipation tightens like a vice, but it doesn't crush me. It sharpens me. Tonight I am not invisible. Tonight I am the man who set the end in motion. The clinking of forks fades as Dana Russo approaches the head table with her leather folio tucked neatly under one arm. Her heels sound steady against the polished floor, her expression the calm mask of professionalism. The band softens its tune as though it senses the weight shifting in the room. She stops just behind Lauren's chair, her voice polite but clear enough to reach the surrounding guests. "Mrs. Hayes, pardon me, Mrs. Pierce," she begins, careful, with the name. We're ready to settle the remaining balance. The total due this evening is $32,800, per your family's agreement. Lauren's head swivels instinctively toward me, her bridal smile fixed as though this is just another ritual. "Dad, go ahead," she says lightly, hand extending toward me the way one would cue a waiter to bring the check. I sit back in my chair, fold my napkin once more, and let the silence form around me. "No," I say. The word falls heavy. Conversation around us falters, pauses, collapses into quiet. Forks hang midair. The band stops altogether, the last violin note stretching too long before vanishing. All eyes swing toward me. Lauren's lips part. She laughs, brittle. "Dad, stop. Don't joke." I meet her gaze, calm, measured. "You told me I'm not family. I don't pay for strangers." Gasps ripple through the crowd. A cousin lowers his wine glass slowly. At the far side of the room, one of my old factory buddies nods once, lips pressed tight. A woman at the country club table looks down at her pearls, unwilling to meet anyone's eyes. Clark Pierce clears his throat, shifting in his tailored jacket. "We'll coordinate Monday," he says smoothly, as though business can be pushed into the future with a single word. Dana does not move. "I'm sorry, Mr. Pierce. Per the contract, settlement is due tonight." Marilyn leans forward, her tone syrup with a hint of scolding. "Of course, but you understand. Funds are tied up. Honeymoon deposits, liquidity, the usual complications." Andrew's voice rises behind her. "We can sort it later. This is a wedding, for God's sake." But Dana remains steady. "I understand, but the contract is explicit. Final payment is required before the close of service." Vendors begin to drift closer, pulled like planets to a forming gravity. The photographer clears his throat politely. "My proofs are ready, but I'll need final payment before release." The band manager adjusts his bow tie. "We require settlement before teardown." Lauren's face pales beneath the makeup. Andrew whispers to her, urgent. They both turn toward the gift table, desperation flashing in their movements. They stumble together, gathering envelopes and tearing them open in front of 200 silent guests. The sound of ripping paper, the frantic count of bills, the clink of cards hitting china. It fills the air with humiliation. 200 from coworkers, 150 from a cousin, 300 from an old friend. The numbers add like pennies against a mortgage. 5,000, 6, 7. By the time they reach the bottom of the stack, the total sits at $8,400, still short by more than $24,000. Donna stands nearby, her assistant recording the numbers. Her tone remains firm but kind. We have a policy. If unpaid after last service, we call security and initiate collections. We can also hold photo proofs and raw footage until accounts are settled. Lauren turns. To me, tears cutting black streaks into her makeup. Dad, you're ruining my wedding. I set my water glass down, the sound deliberate in the silence. You did that when you told me I wasn't family. The murmur rises now, not just whispers but open judgment. Some shake their heads, some shift uncomfortably. A few of my old factory friends exchange looks, approval quiet in their eyes. Clark raises a hand as though he can push the moment back into order. Boundaries, he says. Adult independence. We can't be expected to fund every whim. Marilyn nods, her smile brittle. Exactly. Children must learn to manage their obligations. The hypocrisy hangs thick. Guests exchange glances, disbelief sharp on their faces. The band, waiting, lets their instruments lower. A microphone squeals with feedback, the sound jagged across the room. Awkward air fills every corner. Dana lifts her voice, professional, steady. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll pause the music while we resolve a private business matter. Thank you for your patience. Lauren crumbles then, sobs racking her, shoulders shaking under the lace. Andrew tries diplomacy, words spilling about compromise, about arrangements, about fairness. Each phrase falls dead in the silence. The truth hangs visible now, undeniable. Who gave love? Who offered labels? Who actually paid the bills? And for the first time tonight, I feel the weight lift. Justice has found its voice. The hall is still buzzing with the aftershock when I rise quietly from my chair. I leave behind the half-finished glass of water, the uneaten slice of cake, and the murmurs that follow me like echoes down the corridor. I don't look back. Justice has already been served. Outside, the Ohio night greets me with crisp honesty. The conservatory glass behind me glows with chandeliers, but out here the stars rule the ceiling. My old F-150 waits at the far end of the lot. I slip into the driver's seat, turn the key once, and the engine rumbles to life on the first try. That sound, faithful, steady, feels like dignity. The drive home winds me past landmarks that carry memory in their brick and neon. I pass Linden Park, where I once pushed Lauren on a swing until she squealed to go higher, her laughter sharper than the summer cicadas. A few miles later, I roll past the corner diner where Maggie and I shared cheap pie on Fridays. Cherry for her, lemon meringue for me. We never needed chandeliers. We had formica tables, a jukebox, and the comfort of knowing the waitress by name. When I reach home, the porch light glows just as it did when Maggie was alive. I step inside and turn on the lamp she loved, amber shade, soft light that warms the room instead of flooding it. The house is quiet, but it feels like mine, in a way the conservatory never could. I set the envelope on the kitchen table. The ledger lies beside it, open to a page that has carried too much weight for too long. I pick up a pen and write slowly, deliberately, as if each word is a nail, closing a coffin on the past. No further advances. Boundaries, protect, love. I underline it once, then close the book. The sound of the cover snapping shut is small but final. My phone buzzes. An unknown number flashes across the screen. I don't need to guess who it is. I set the phone face down on the table. For the first time in decades, I let silence answer. My lungs fill deep, unhurried. The $32,800 is still mine. More than money, it is freedom. Tomorrow I'll call a travel agent. I'll book a trip in May to see the Grand Canyon, a place Maggie and I once promised to visit but postponed for tuition bills and leaky roofs. I picture the canyon stretched wide under a desert sky, colors older than memory itself. That will be my gift to myself. Proof that life can still open, even after doors close. As I lean back in my chair, the moral settles clear and solid. Enabling isn't love. Boundaries are kindness with a backbone. My generation knows sacrifice, but we must also know when to stop pouring ourselves into wells that refuse to give back. Tonight I didn't just keep my money, I kept my dignity. Relief washes through me, followed by pride, not the noisy kind, but the quiet pride of a man who finally chose himself. Ahead lies a future not built on someone else's demands, but on my own long-delayed hopes. And that, I realize, is the truest inheritance any of us can leave. The courage to draw a line and still keep love intact on the right side of it. If this story hit home for you, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Stories like Philip's remind us that boundaries are not cruelty, they are protection. They safeguard love, they guard dignity, and they remind us that no matter how much we've given, we still have the right to keep something for ourselves. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had to set a hard boundary with family? Was it about money, respect, or simply the way you were treated? How did it go, and what did you learn from it? Your voice matters here, and sharing your story might just give courage to someone else who is struggling with the same painful decisions. Life after 55 carries wisdom that only comes from years of work, sacrifice, and love given freely. But it also carries the responsibility to protect what we have built. Philip's choice to walk away with his dignity intact is a reminder to all of us that our worth is not measured in checks signed or bills paid, but in the strength of the backbone we carry into every room. And don't miss what's coming next. In our next story, a son bans his mother from Thanksgiving and learns too late who really owns the house. It is a story about entitlement, hidden truths, and the kind of justice that arrives just when it's needed most. So subscribe, stay with us, and be part of this community where love, respect, and dignity always have the last word.